Welcome to Weiner Watercolors with Jean and Jazzy. In this video, I'll be showing you how to paint a cardinal step by step. I've applied a bit of masking fluid to my drawing. Using a round brush, I'm wetting the paper around the cardinal. The cardinal is the only part of the drawing that will stay dry. We're getting the paper ready to do a wet into wet background wash. You want to see shine on your paper. I'm using a 3/4 inch flat brush and raw sienna paint to drop in some color. The light will be coming from the top right, so the raw sienna will strengthen as I come to the bottom. Add a little burnt sienna on the bottom and left hand side of your painting. This is Prussian blue that I'm dropping in. I'm making sure to go around the outside of the large birch limb. I want to be able to see the actual birch branches, so I've got a dilute puddle of lamp black, and I'm just glazing in lamp black around all of the birch branch elements. Now that the lamp black is on, I feel that I've lost some of the color in the background. So I've wet the paper area, dropping in a little more raw sienna and Prussian blue. These two colors mix and mingle nicely and give the feel of a nice tonal green, which will be a lovely complement to the red of the cardinal. You can use a fabric brush, a brush you can pick up at your local craft store. Dampen the tip and lift color out of the paper to give the feel of additional birch branches in the background. This is a nice technique, and it gives some more depth to our background. I'm adding a dark brown branch on the bottom right to give even more depth because of contrast. I'm using a masking fluid pickup to remove the masking that I applied before I did any of the painting. The masking creates really hard edges, so I'm using the fabric brush to just soften the inside edges on the birch branches. It takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth the effort. You'll also want to soften the edges on the outside of the bird. You can make the crest look really soft. We want the bird to be soft and fluffy. I'm wetting the paper on the large birch limb before I drop in any color. I want things to remain very soft yet at this point. Dropping in some raw sienna. I know this is a white birch tree, birch limbs, but very few whites are white. And in order for us to read some of the white and light, we have to knock it down in other places. Adding Prussian blue now. The same two colors we used in the background, so we're creating harmony in our piece already. And finally, dropping in some purple. This is royal blue mixed with alizarin crimson and a touch of lamp black. This really helps us begin to develop form or dimension on the birch branches. We'll begin adding some of the birch branch markings. I'm using a dilute puddle of lamp black and a number 4 round brush. I'll lay some squiggles and defining markings and then come back with a larger brush in a bit and soften so they don't look so graphic. Doing the same thing on the large branch. You can just follow your pencil lines. Cover them. Work for a little bit, and then before the paint dries, come back and tickle those edges with a damp brush that's a little larger. And I'm applying Prussian blue once again on the outside left of limbs to make the light on the right hand side of the limbs be even more evident. Dropping in a little raw sienna too. A little more purple. Moving on to the Cardinal, I like to do an underpainting since I work with transparent watercolors before I apply the main color on the subject. So I'm laying in yellow everywhere that I want the red of the bird to be brighter, warmer, have a stronger glow. I'm using a number 4 brush and feathery strokes, making sure I come back and blend and soften so that the bird will remain looking soft. I've mixed up a bit of purple with cobalt blue and permanent rose And I'm painting the purple everywhere that I know I will want the red to look a little deeper or more shaded. At this stage, the cardinal actually looks a bit ugly, but when the red paint covers this underpainting, the bird will already have a good bit of form. And it's time to add the red to the cardinal. This is Scarlet Lake, just straight Scarlet Lake. And I'm using a number 4 round brush, being careful to go around the beak and the eye. I paint red right down to the beak and around the eye, even though the bird will receive a black mask. The black will look richer when it's painted over top of the red instead of onto white paper. Remember to soften so the bird remains fluffy. Just keep moving those outside edges. You can see the difference in red over yellow or red over purple. I'm strengthening the red with Scarlet Lake. This is just a bit more paint with less water. So I'm working a bit drier. I have more control. Feathery brush strokes again, being sure to come back and soften those outside edges. The bird is really taking on form and coming to life. I'm using my small number 2 round brush and burnt sienna to work around Jazzy and paint the iris of the eye. Save a little dot of white paper for the highlight. Moving into the beak, use a little bit of dilute Scarlet Lake. Divide the top portion of the beak from the bottom, and the bottom portion of the beak would be a little darker. Go ahead and fill it in. It's going to look like our beak is disappearing, but we still have to apply the black mask. Go ahead and put some Scarlet Lake on a small section of the top portion of the beak as well, being sure to save the light highlight across the top. Use lamp black to apply the black mask. I'm using the number 2 small round brush and carefully working around the top portion of the beak and the outside of the eye. Use tiny feathery brush strokes and apply them in the direction that the feathers would be laying. You can see the beak now. And go ahead and outline the brown iris that you painted for the eye and add a small black pupil, being sure to save that white highlight. Go ahead and strengthen the definition on the beak. I'm going over the line that we painted in that divides top from bottom, painting in a little bit stronger red. The bottom portion of the beak would be a bit darker. Add a sliver of darker red on the lower part of the top portion of the beak as well. There are still some areas on the Cardinal that would benefit from a stronger red. So I'm using alizarin crimson now instead of Scarlet Lake and just painting that on and softening anywhere I want to create even more dimension. Underneath the wing is a good spot to strengthen. You can create divisions between feathers on the wing. Also, down along the breast, some definition at the face. Being sure to soften. He's really coming alive. Jazzy's going to help us paint the bird's feet.
You're looking up there. Open it up. Thank you. Yes, that's a little too much up. Good idea.
The biggest tip that I can give about painting bird feet is to be light with the brush. Light with your color. Use a dilute color choice. This is just some soft purple, a little bit of lamp black, but very dilute. And I'm going over the pencil lines. I'll stop and look and see if they're feeling believable. When I feel that the feet are looking believable, then I'll come back and strengthen them. You don't want the feet to draw too much attention, truthfully. We want the viewer's eye going in to the face of the bird. I'm using a bit of a product called Bleed Proof White. Any opaque white will work. I cleaned up the outside edge of the beak, going along the top of the crest, feathering the crest. It's a nice finishing touch to just pick up a few more sparkles of light. Outside of the eye there on the face. A little bit down along the outside of the wing and then in on the wing as well. And then finally across the top of the feet. Just one more application of purple through the big limb. And a bit of a shadow on the limb underneath the bird. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you will click on the like button or leave a comment. And please subscribe to my channel so you can watch more of my videos as they become available.